Welcome to the review video for the fundamentals quiz coming up tomorrow. There's just basically two parts to this quiz. Let me tell you what kind of questions are on the quiz, and then we will go over some of the things you'll see. The first section is a matching section, and guess what? I'm going to just tell you the answers. All right. The answers are the following possibilities: Babylonian Empire, Medo-Persian Empire, Grecian Empire, Roman Empire, or Antichrist's kingdom. All right. And so you can imagine, we talked about the different sections of Daniel's visions and Nebuchadnezzar's dream, of course, and you have to tell which thing basically applies to which one. All right. The second part of the quiz is a short answer section, and that deals with a couple of things from the Daniel section, as well as some of the stuff from The Deity of Christ by Benjamin Warfield. All right. And so let's quickly go over these things. All right. The head of gold is, of course, the Babylonian Empire. The chest and arms of silver is the Medo-Persian Empire. Of course, the belly and thighs of brass are the Grecian Empire, and the legs of iron are the Roman Empire. Then we talked about the fact that there were legs or toes of iron mixed with clay, and that represents the Antichrist Empire. All right, and so those are the sections found for Nebuchadnezzar's dream. We also talked about the fact that Daniel had a corresponding vision, and that was the vision of the beasts. And we said that the Babylonian Empire was represented by the lion with eagle's wings. And of course, we mentioned Nebuchadnezzar being the king of kings, all right, you might say, in the earthly sense, all right. And he represented by the king of beasts, as well as the eagle, the king of birds, all right. Very regal empire. Then we mentioned the Medo-Persian Empire was represented by a bear raised up on one side. And of course, we said the Medo-Persian Empire often won by just overcoming with brute force and just hordes and hordes and hordes of people. We mentioned the Grecian Empire dealt with the leopard with four wings, all right, on its back. And that represented the Grecian Empire under Alexander the Great. Of course, a leopard, very quick of feet. All right, the Grecian Empire wasn't as big as the Medo-Persian Empire as far as army, but they were very fast, all right, and very strong. And then we mentioned we just called it a monster with 10 horns, all right. He doesn't give really a description to it. And that, of course, was the Roman Empire. And we mentioned in the middle of those 10 horns, there came up a little horn. And of course, that little horn represented the Antichrist. The next set of visions that next vision we mentioned from Daniel is the vision of the ram and the he-goat. And that specifically dealt with two of the empires, the ram being the Medo-Persian Empire. And of course, the ram was the national animal of the Medo-Persian Empire. The ram had two horns. One, the larger one came up secondly, representing that the Persian Empire was the greater of the two parts of the Medo-Persian Empire. We also mentioned the he-goat, which the national animal of the Grecian Empire is the goat. And of course, that was the goat under Alexander the Great. The Bible tells us that the he-goat had one large horn. That horn represented Alexander the Great. And when the horn was broken, it broke up into four parts. And of course, that represented the four generals that took over after Alexander the Great. We mentioned out of one of those horns came up a little horn. And we mentioned, of course, that definitely has reference to the Antichrist. We also mentioned what we call the Antichrist of the Old Testament, Antiochus Epiphanes. And he did come out of one of these four parts. And he was one that definitely committed an abomination of desolation. He sacrificed a pig on the altar, defiled the temple, killed many Jews. He is not the Antichrist, but as we mentioned, he was one that probably was set to be the Antichrist, except for the fact that God stopped him. Nevertheless, we call him the Antichrist of the Old Testament. All right, so we mentioned that as far as Daniel's visions, all right? I know we referred to Daniel's 70 weeks. I don't think we completely got into that, so I left that relatively off the quiz, all right? Dealing with the deity of Christ, we mentioned a quote that Benjamin Warfield said, He said this: our conviction of the deity of Christ rests not alone on the scriptural passages which assert it, but on his entire impression on the world. All right. And Christ made a great impression on the world. Of course, the whole calendar is based on his birth. All right. And so quite an impression. We mentioned the fact that experience is proof. We said that just because a Christian is not able to state all the beliefs about the deity of Christ doesn't mean it's not true. All right. A Christian's ability to state it is not necessarily make it untrue. Then we mentioned a testimony in solution. And we liked Benjamin Warfield's illustration. The strongest, though they may be the most apparent, proofs that the sea is salt, is that salt is in solution, is present in every bucket of seawater. We mentioned the fact that that really, although not every verse in the Bible mentions Christ's deity, all right, it is present in solution in every page of the New Testament. And so we see that. We see some indirect things that Jesus alludes to. For instance, Jesus naturally claims ownership over Christ's, God's angels, his kingdom, and his elect. Three different things that he just basically said, these are my angels, my kingdom, my elect. We also mentioned that, of course, he accepts the title Messiah. He speaks of himself as God's other, the manifestation of God. We mentioned Hebrews 1:3, the Greek word there, character, which is translated expressed image. He is the very character of God. We mentioned 4 divine prerogatives that Christ claims. He claims the ability to read the heart of man, the ability to forgive sins. He exercises all authority in heaven and earth, and he claims to be omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. Lastly, we mentioned that Christianity is the greatest proof of the deity of Christ. The fact that Christianity changes people, it changes a nation. In fact, we mentioned the quote by Charles Darwin that he basically said, if you got stranded on a deserted island, you better hope that Christianity's reached there if there's natives there. And so Christianity is the greatest proof. All right, hopefully this video will help you, and we'll see you tomorrow.